The storm had teeth. Aelith pulled her soaked cloak tighter as rain lashed the narrow forest road, each drop striking like a tiny blade against her exposed skin. Lightning split the sky, illuminating the ancient oaks that bent and groaned under the wind's fury. She should have waited in the last village. Should have listened when the old woman warned her that the mountain pass turned deadly when the autumn storms rolled in. But a traveling healer without patience was simply a hungry woman with useless herbs. So she had pressed on. Now she was paying for that stubbornness. Through the curtain of rain she glimpsed a faint glow between the trees. Aelith stumbled toward it until a wooden sign emerged from the darkness. The Hollow Oak Inn. She pushed through the door and nearly wept at the wave of heat that enveloped her. The common room was packed with travelers driven inside by the storm. The innkeeper, a stout woman with flour-dusted hands, shook her head at Aelith's entrance. "No rooms, love. Storm's driven half the province through my door tonight. Best I can offer is a spot by the fire." Aelith nodded numbly and found an empty corner near the hearth, sinking to the floor as exhaustion claimed her bones. "That corner looks remarkably uncomfortable." The voice came from above her, deep, quiet, touched with amusement. Aelith looked up. The man standing over her was tall, broad-shouldered, dressed in simple dark traveling clothes. His hair was black as a moonless night, falling across a forehead that spoke of noble bearing, but it was his eyes that captured her. Amber gold, bright as flames, watching her with an intensity that made her breath catch. "I have a room," he continued. "The last one. It seems wasteful to let half of it sit empty while you shiver on the floor." Aelith's cheeks flushed. "I couldn't possibly." "There's only one bed," he said. "But I can sleep in the chair." She should refuse. Every instinct bred into a woman traveling alone screamed at her to politely decline, but his eyes held no threat. Only a strange gentleness at odds with his powerful frame, and she was so very cold. "Just for tonight," she heard herself say. The stranger smiled. "Just for tonight." His name was Kaelin. He was a traveler, he said, with business in the Eastern Territories. He did not tell her what business. Aelith did not ask. The room was small but clean, dominated by a bed and a single wooden chair. Kaelin settled into the chair while Aelith changed into a dry shirt he offered from his pack. Soft linen that smelled of pine and something wilder. "Who are you?" she whispered. He crossed to her with steps that were almost predatory in their grace, stopping inches away. "Someone who has been waiting a very long time to find someone like you." His hand cupped her face, his thumb tracing her cheekbone. "I should warn you. If I kiss you now, I will not be able to let you go tomorrow. My wolf has already decided." His voice dropped. "Tell me to stop, and we part as strangers at dawn." Aelith's heart hammered. She had known this man for less than an hour, but her wolf was howling. "And if I don't tell you to stop?" His eyes blazed. "Then you're mine, Aelith, tonight and always." She rose on her toes and pressed her lips to his. The night became a fever dream of tangled limbs and whispered confessions. Later, as they lay intertwined in darkness, Kaelin's lips found the curve of her hip. "I need to mark you," he said hoarsely. "If I don't claim you properly, my wolf will never forgive me." "Yes," she whispered. His teeth sank into her flesh. The pain transformed into pleasure, connection, a bond that wrapped around her soul. "You are mine now," he growled. "When my business here is finished, I will come for you. I will announce you before my people." "Your people?" But he only kissed her again. "Soon. I will explain everything soon. Trust me." She curled into his chest. "I trust you," she murmured. She did not see the anguish that crossed his face, and she did not wake when he slipped away before dawn, leaving only a note. "Wait for me. I will return within the fortnight. Everything I have is yours. 3 weeks later." Aelith stood in the shadow of a marble pillar, staring at the great hall of Valanthor, the claiming ceremony. She had heard about it in the village where she'd been waiting. The Alpha King was finally choosing his queen. Every noble house had sent their daughters. Aelith had come because Kaelin had not returned. His fortnight had stretched into 3 weeks with no word. The claiming mark on her hip burned constantly. And then she had heard whispers, rumors of a man with black hair and amber eyes conducting private business in the Eastern Territories, the Alpha King himself. Impossible, she had told herself, but the whispers had burrowed into her brain, and she could not extract them without knowing the truth. Now trumpets announced the royal procession, and then he appeared. The Alpha King of Valanthor strode through the parting crowd. Kaelin, her Kaelin. The man who had shared his room with a shivering stranger. The man who had marked her as his mate. He was the Alpha King, and he had never told her. 5 women in flowing white gowns ascended the dais. At their center walked Saravine of House Morvain, with hair like liquid silver and a smile sharp as broken glass. Kaelin, Alpha King of Valanthor, the High Elder intoned, the realm awaits your choice. Look at me, Aelith begged silently. Feel the bond. Find me. Kaelin stepped forward. His movement was wrong, stiff, mechanical. His eyes were flat and empty. Ah, I choose Saravine of House Morvain. The crowd erupted with cheers, and Aelith felt something inside her shatter. The mark on her hip exploded with agony. Through tear-blurred vision, she watched Kaelin raise Saravine's hand to his lips. He did not look for her. He did not hesitate. Her hand moved to her belly, where a secret had been growing for 2 weeks. His child. And he had just chosen another woman. Aelith fled. Far behind her, a howl split the sky, raw, anguished, and inhuman. But she was already gone. The village of Willowmere sat at the edge of the world. Aelith had walked for 3 days to reach it, choosing the most remote settlement she could find. She arrived in winter's grip, claiming to be a young widow fleeing grief. The village elder offered her the abandoned cottage by the river in exchange for her healing skills. That was 3 months ago. Now spring fought through the last snows, and Aelith had become simply the healer woman who kept to herself. She delivered babies, set broken bones, brewed remedies for fevers, and every night she lay awake with her hands on her belly, feeling the life within grow stronger. The children moved constantly now, kicks coming from opposite sides as if 2 small bodies competed for space. Royal blood, her wolf whispered. Strong pups. She pushed the thought away. You are mine, she murmured to the darkness. Only mine. But the mark on her hip still burned. 3 months, and it had not faded. Among their kind, a rejected claiming bite should wither and disappear within weeks. Instead, hers had darkened, deepened. Sometimes she felt something through it, a presence, a searching, a desperate hunger clawing at her consciousness. False hope, she told herself. Nothing more. A knock at her door shattered the morning quiet. Briella, the blacksmith's wife, stood on her threshold, face flushed with excitement. Mistress Wren, traders from the capital bring news. The Alpha King has gone mad. The world swayed. Mad? Completely mad. He has torn the kingdom apart searching for a woman. No one knows who she is, only that he will destroy anything standing between him and finding her. The mark on her hip flared with heat. 20,000 gold pieces for information, Briella continued breathlessly. He does not sleep, does not eat? And his chosen queen? Confined to her chambers? He has not touched her since the ceremony. Aelith's mind reeled. Why would he search for a woman he publicly rejected? The affairs of kings are not our concern, she said, forcing steadiness into her voice. But after Briella left, she sank into her chair with trembling legs. The connection between them pulsed with distant urgency. What if something was wrong that night? What if the emptiness in his eyes was not indifference? That night, she dreamed of him. Kaelin stood in a moonlit clearing, gaunt and hollow-eyed. Aelith, where are you? I cannot find you. She tried to speak, but no sound emerged. Please come back. My wolf is dying without you. His fingers brushed her cheek. She woke gasping, her mark burning so intensely she cried out. Somewhere far to the west, she could have sworn she heard a wolf howling. The wolves came 3 days later. Aelith was hanging herbs to dry when she spotted them, 5 massive shapes emerging from the tree line. Their eyes gleamed with intelligence no ordinary animal possessed. Pack wolves, the AlphaKing's hunters. They found me. Then the mark on her hip exploded. Agony radiated through her body, searing, overwhelming. Beneath the pain, she felt a presence crashing against her consciousness. He was close. Not just his wolves, him. The children kicked violently, as if responding to their father's proximity. A heavy knock shook her door. Mistress Wren, please open the door. We mean you no harm. She grabbed the iron poker and answered. 3 men stood on her threshold. 2 were warriors. The third commanded her attention, perhaps 50. Dark hair streaked with gray, amber eyes that held something like relief. My lady, I am Lyric, first beta to the AlphaKing. We have been searching for you for 93 days. You have made a mistake. My name is Wren. You are Aelith, born of no recognized house. His gaze dropped to her belly. You bear the king's claiming mark and his children. How do you know about the children? Twins. The king has dreamed of them every night since you disappeared. Lyric's expression softened. May we come inside? What I must tell you cannot be spoken where others might hear. She stepped aside. Lyric entered alone. He did not choose her, he said without preamble. Saravine, he did not choose her willingly. Aelith's legs nearly buckled. What? The night of the claiming, someone poisoned the king's wine, a compound derived from Shadow's Bane that severed his connection to his wolf and left him vulnerable to suggestion. That is impossible. Until the effects wore off 4 days later and the king woke screaming your name. Lyric's jaw tightened. He remembered nothing of the ceremony. The first thing he did was run to find you. Tears burned in Aelith's eyes. He was drugged, she whispered. Violated. His will was taken from him. Leoric withdrew a folded letter. This was intercepted 2 weeks ago. The serpent seal of House Morvain. The healer has been located. The problem and the abominations she carries will be eliminated before the new moon. Long live Queen Saravine. Aelith's blood turned to ice. Abominations. They mean my children. Assassins have been dispatched. The king is riding for you now, but even his fastest wolves may not arrive in time. Movement at the tree line caught her eye. Shapes emerged from the forest, black-furred wolves with predatory coordination, and leading them, a figure in dark leather wearing a wolf skull mask, crossbow already raised. They found us, she whispered. Leoric's eyes flashed amber. Get to the cellar. Now. The first arrow shattered her window. Glass exploded across the floor. Leoric shoved Aelith toward the back wall as a second arrow punched through where her head had been. Dark liquid glistened on its tip. Poison. A third arrow caught Leoric in the shoulder. He staggered but ripped it free with a snarl, his body exploding into wolf form as he crashed through the shattered window. Through the chaos, Aelith watched Leoric's silver wolf grapple with 3 attackers at once. The poison was slowing him. His strikes grew sluggish. One black wolf lunged for his throat. Aelith's hand flew out without conscious thought. Amber radiance erupted from her palm. The attacking wolf was hurled backward, fur smoking. It crashed into its companions, scattering their formation. Aelith stared at her trembling hand. This was not her minor healing ability. This was something else entirely. The children. Their magic is awakening. Another wave of assassins surged toward the cottage. She raised both hands and released. The warm brilliance blazed outward, and every black wolf it touched howled in agony. Some fled. Others collapsed, writhing. But not all of them ran. The masked figure strode through the fading light as if it were morning mist. Interesting. The voice was female, sharp as a blade. The Morvanes will pay handsomely to learn the king's whore is a witch. Aelith's power flickered. The magic had cost her more than she realized. The assassin raised her crossbow. Nothing personal, but you and those abominations cannot be allowed to exist. Kaelin, Aelith thought desperately. I'm sorry. The assassin's finger tightened. And then the world exploded. Trees that had stood for centuries shattered as something massive crashed through the undergrowth. The ground shook. The remaining assassin wolves scattered in terror. The masked woman spun, crossbow swinging. She was not fast enough. A wolf the size of a warhorse burst from the tree line. Its fur was black as the void between stars, its eyes blazing with molten fire. Power radiated from its form in waves that made the air tremble. The wolf crossed the clearing in a single bound, jaws closing around the assassin's arm with a sickening crunch. It shook her once, twice, then flung her broken body into the darkness. The massive wolf turned, searching for threats. Finding none, it swung toward Aelith, those burning eyes fixed on her face. Then, with impossible gentleness, it lowered its great head and pressed its nose to her belly. The children went still. For a heartbeat, nothing moved. Then a kick, strong and sure, answered their father's touch. The wolf made a sound that broke Aelith's heart. A whimper. Kaelin, she whispered. The shift happened between breaths. One moment, a wolf. The next, a man knelt in the blood-stained snow, hands hovering over her stomach as if terrified to touch her. He looked up. The Alpha King was weeping. Leoric limped toward them, shifting back to human form despite his wounds. The assassin, he managed. That was Corinne Morvane, Saravine's younger sister. The name hung in the air like poison, but Aelith barely heard. She could only stare at the man kneeling before her, tears carving tracks through the blood on his face. You're alive, Kaelin breathed. You're alive, and you're... His eyes dropped to her belly. His hand reached toward the swell, then froze. May I? The Alpha King, asking permission to touch his own children. She took his hand and pressed it to her stomach. The twins kicked immediately. Kaelin's breath caught. Two of them. Aelith, why didn't you tell me? The question shattered the fragile moment. Tell you? Her voice came out sharp. When exactly? Before or after you chose Saravine in front of the entire kingdom? He flinched. I didn't choose her. I was drugged. I was there. I watched you take her hand while I hid in the shadows like a shameful secret. That isn't what happened. Then what did happen? Kaelin's expression crumbled. I woke in a bed I didn't recognize, with a woman I despise trying to touch me. The only thing I felt was that something was wrong. Something was missing. His voice broke. Then the bond came roaring back. And I knew you were gone. Through the mark, she felt his emotions bleeding through. Not lies. Only anguish. I didn't sleep. He continued hoarsely. I sent every wolf to search for you. I emptied the treasury. They think I've gone mad. His eyes found hers. Perhaps I have, because I would burn my kingdom to ashes before I let anyone but you sit beside me. A sob escaped her throat. I waited for you, she choked out. At the inn, I was going to tell you about the babies. And when I didn't come, you thought I had used you. I thought you had thrown me away, that I meant nothing. You mean everything. Kaelin cupped her face. You are my heart, my home. Without you, I am nothing but a hollow throne and a howling wolf. I never stopped loving you, she confessed, even when I wanted to hate you. He made a sound between laugh and sob. Then he kissed her. The bond between them roared back to life. His emotions crashed into hers. Love, relief, fierce protectiveness. When they broke apart, his eyes were molten amber. I have to complete the bond properly, but first. A guard came running, face pale. My king, the Morvaines have seized the palace. Lord Morvaine claims you abandoned your throne. Lady Saravine has been declared acting queen. Aelith felt the blood drain from her face. The loyalists who refused to bend the knee have been taken prisoner. 43 of them. They are to be executed at dawn. The guard's eyes darted to Aelith, including the old healer woman, the one called Miriam. Miriam. Who had first recognized Aelith's gifts? Who had known about the pregnancy before Aelith herself? We ride for Valanthor immediately, Kaelin commanded. I'm coming with you. Absolutely not. You are pregnant. I will not hide while innocent people die because of me. For a long moment the AlphaKing studied his mate, then a fierce smile crossed his face. Together then. Together, she agreed. The journey to Valanthor took 2 days at a punishing pace. Aelith rode pressed against Kaelin's chest, his arm wrapped securely around her waist. She could feel his heartbeat against her spine. Tell me about the nights, she said quietly. Lyric said you dreamed of the twins. When I slept, my wolf reached for you. I could never see you clearly, but I could feel them. His hand moved to rest on her belly. A boy with his mother's healing gift. A girl with fire in her eyes. You really saw them? Every night. It was the only thing that kept me sane. I had dreams too. You came to me in a forest clearing. Those weren't just dreams. He pressed his lips to her temple. The bond refused to let us go. The names. What names did you speak in your sleep? Arian for the boy. My father's name. His hand traced gentle circles on her belly. And Lyra for the girl. It means light in the old tongue. Tears pricked her eyes. Those are beautiful names. They reached the capital as dawn crept over the horizon. Smoke rose from several quarters. The royal wolf crest on the palace gates had been replaced by the silver serpent of House Morvaine. A scout came galloping toward them. My king, Lord Morvaine commands 300 wolves. The prisoners are in the great hall. If you attempt to take the palace by force, he will execute them all. The scout swallowed. He says if the king's whore shows her face, he will gut her himself. Kaelin turned to stone behind her. We cannot storm the palace in time, Leoric said grimly. Then I go in alone. Aelith straightened. Morvaine wants me dead. If I walk through those gates, he'll be so focused on his prize that he may lower his guard. I will not use you as bait. I am choosing this. She cupped his face. I will not let 43 people die for me. Kaelin's eyes were anguished. I will be right behind you, he said roughly. Do whatever you must to stay alive until I reach you. She kissed him. I love you, she whispered. Come back to me. That is a command from your king. The walk to the palace gates was the longest of Aelith's life. I am Aelith, she called out. I offer myself in exchange for the prisoners' lives. The gates swung open. Lord Varin Morvaine emerged. Tall, silver-haired, eyes like a winter storm. Behind him walked Saravine, hatred burning in her gaze. So this is the creature who has caused so much trouble, Saravine said. A common healer with a swollen belly. Lord Morvaine descended the steps, gripping Aelith's jaw. Did you truly think you could steal a throne from House Morvaine? The mark beneath her dress burned. Kaelin was coming. She just needed to survive. Take her to the Great Hall, Morvaine commanded. Let the traitors watch their supposed queen die. As guards dragged her through the palace doors, Aelith glimpsed the sky beyond the walls. A black wolf the size of a warhorse was descending from the hills, an army of shadows at his back. The great hall had been transformed into a chamber of horrors. 43 prisoners knelt before the dais, hands bound, faces bloodied. Morvain guards stood behind them with blades drawn. Near the center knelt Miriam, silver hair tangled, one eye swollen shut. "Child," Miriam breathed. "Why did you come back?" "Because I could not let you die for me." Lord Morvain settled into Kaelin's throne. How touching. The healer whore returns to save her fellow servants. His smile was cruel. "Did you truly believe your surrender would change anything? You said you would release them." "I said I would gut you myself. The traitors die regardless." Ice flooded her veins. It was a trap. Through their link she felt Kaelin drawing closer. Battle echoed outside. But he was not close enough. She needed more time. "The king will tear you apart," she said. "By the time he fights through my forces, you will be dead." Morvain descended, drawing a blade that gleamed with silver sheen. "Any last words?" Aelith looked past him to the prisoners, to Miriam, lips moving in silent prayer. She thought of Kaelin fighting toward her. She thought of Arian and Lyra, their magic stirring within. "Not yet," she told them. "Let him think I am helpless." "You should have killed me when you had the chance." Morvain raised the blade. Aelith unleashed everything. Amber radiance exploded from her body like a star being born. The light slammed into Morvain and hurled him across the hall. His body cracked against the stone wall. Guards rushed toward her. The brilliance swept them aside. But the power came with a price. Aelith screamed as her bones began to shift. The twins' magic had triggered something she had been resisting since the night Kaelin claimed her. She was transforming. Through the haze of agony, she saw Saravine retrieve her father's blade. "If you will not die as a woman," Saravine hissed, "then you will die as a half-formed abomination." The blade rose, the great doors exploded inward. Kaelin burst through in wolf form, loyal wolves flooding behind him. His eyes found Aelith immediately, writhing, caught between forms. Saravine spun, poisoned blade raised. "One more step, and I open her throat." Kaelin froze, trembling with restrained fury. "The children," Aelith thought through the agony. "Help me," the twins answered. Power flooded through her, not fighting the transformation, but guiding it. Her bones finished reshaping in a surge of light. Where a pregnant woman had lain, a wolf now stood. Her fur was burnished gold, shot through with silver that seemed to glow. Her eyes blazed with amber fire. Saravine stumbled backward. "Impossible!" Aelith lunged. Her jaws closed around Saravine's wrist, forcing her to drop the blade. She shook once, twice, then flung her aside. Kaelin was at her side instantly, his black fur pressing against her gold. "My queen," his voice echoed in her mind. "My magnificent queen, less admiring, more fighting." Together, they turned on the remaining Morvain forces. The battle was brief. Seeing their lord broken and their lady's arm mangled, the Morvain wolves lost heart. One by one, they yielded. Lord Morvain staggered to his feet. "This is not over." Kaelin shifted to human form. "House Morvain ends tonight." His fist connected with Morvain's jaw, and the lord crumpled. Aelith shifted back, trembling. Kaelin wrapped his cloak around her, hands checking for wounds. "The babies?" "Fine." She pressed his palm to her belly. "They guided the transformation. They knew we needed to fight together." He pulled her into his arms. They had won. The throne room was silent as Aelith and Kaelin stood before the assembled wolves. Dawn light streamed through the great windows. "My people," Kaelin announced. "You have witnessed treachery and triumph this night. 3 months ago, I was drugged and violated, forced to speak words I did not choose. The Morvains stole my will and drove away my true mate." He took Aelith's hand. "This woman is Aelith, chosen by the bond before I knew her name. She carries my heirs, twins, conceived in love. They will be your future prince and princess." Gasps rippled through the crowd. The choosing is void. It always was. His eyes blazed. "I claim Aelith as my queen, not by ceremony, but by the sacred bond that connects our souls." He turned to her, voice dropping. "The bond between us was incomplete. I claimed you, but you never claimed me." He tilted his head, baring his throat. "Claim me, Aelith. Make it complete." Around them, hundreds of wolves watched in breathless silence. She stepped close, pressing her lips against his throat. Her wolf rose within her. Her teeth sank into his flesh. The world exploded into light. The completed bond was everything. Aelith felt Kaelin's essence pour into her as hers flowed into him. Every memory, every secret corner of their hearts laid bare. She saw herself through his eyes, not common, but extraordinary, the most precious soul in his existence. She felt the moment he woke screaming her name, the desperate months of searching, the terror when Seravine's blade hovered over her throat. And she felt his love, vast, deep, and eternal. In return, he saw her journey, the devastation, the lonely exile, the fierce love for their children that had kept her going. When the bond settled, they stood forehead to forehead, tears streaming. "My queen. My king." The wolves lifted their voices in celebration. In the days that followed, House Morvain faced justice. Lord Varin Morvain was executed at dawn for treason, conspiracy, and attempted murder of the royal line. His final moments were spent begging for mercy he had never shown others. Seravine was exiled to the frozen northern wastes, stripped of her name and her wolf, condemned to live out her days as the nothing she had once called Aelith. The kingdom healed slowly but surely. 3 months later, the nursery had been prepared with obsessive care. 2 cradles sat beneath windows overlooking the gardens. In the great bed, Aelith lay exhausted but radiant, newborn children in her arms. Arian had come first, dark hair thick and wild like his father's, healing magic already stirred within him. Lyra followed minutes later, smaller but fiercer, amber fire flickering in her newborn eyes. Kaelin sat beside them, trembling with awe. "They're so small. They will grow. They have their father's strength. And their mother's courage." He kissed each tiny forehead, then Aelith's lips. "Thank you. For fighting for us. For believing when I gave you every reason not to." She touched the claiming mark on his throat, mirror of the one on her hip. "Do you remember what you said that first night? In the inn? If I kissed you, I would not be able to let you go. And I said it was just for one night." She laughed softly. "I was so certain I would be gone by morning. Instead, you stayed forever. Instead, I found my home." The wolves of Valanthor began to howl, announcing the royal heirs, celebrating a story that began with 2 strangers and a single bed. Kaelin gathered his family close. "I love you, in this life and every life that follows." Aelith smiled, her soul singing with their bond, complete, eternal, and unbreakable. "Always," she promised, "from one bed to forever." Outside, the pack's howls rose toward the stars, and in the great tapestry of Valanthor's history, a new chapter was woven. The story of a healer who became a queen, of an Alpha King who tore apart his realm to find his true love, of a bond that could not be broken by poison or politics or fate. They had found each other against all odds, and they would never be parted again. Thank you so much for listening. I hope you enjoyed this story.